It's Tuesday afternoon, it's 4 p.m. in Central Europe, and it's Space Café Web Talk time. Our Space Café Web Talk, 33 minutes with Professor Anke Kaysser-Pyzalla will begin soon. Thanks for joining us today for our talk about climate change. Demands our action. Record from space, analyze and act. As always, we appreciate your participation and ongoing feedback. So, that happens when you run the show without your tech team. So, SpaceWatch.Global is a Europe-based online platform for information in and about space and new space activities in the geopolitical context. I would like to thank all of our private and corporate supporters that showed their commitment to keeping our independent journalism alive. We really appreciate that. I know many of you are already familiar with our website, our bi-weekly and daily newsletters, and the Space Café podcast. The latest episode features an outstanding Stephen Freeland in his very personal conversation with Markus Moslechner. And for all our fans of audio content, we have new episodes in our Space Café radio. So Dr. Emma Gatti's top 10 space events in 2029, and a huge number of great reviews. We are also available on all major podcast platforms now, also with the Space Café radio. So we also keep our fan shop open for you online, where you can support us actively and become and show that you are a space watcher. If you have missed any of our previous web talks, we have an archive available on our website in the event section and on YouTube. So I'm already super excited to talk to my guest today. She is the new chair of the executive board of the German Aerospace Centre. And with that, a very warm welcome, Professor Dr. Anke Kaysser-Pyzalla in our Space Café today. She studied, for those of you that does not know her, she studied mechanical engineering at the Ruhr University Bochum and the Technical University of Darmstadt and received her doctorate from Bochum. Her career in German academic environment is very impressive. Just to mention a few, from the Helmholtz Institute, the Technical University of Berlin, Vienna University of Technology, to being the managing director of the Max-Planck Institute für Eisenforschung. I don't know what is the English word, iron research, GmbH, in Düsseldorf, and the scientific director of the Helmholtz Centre for Material and Energy in Berlin. Anke has served as president at the Technical University in Braunschweig until October 2020, when she started her current job, where we have her from in. And Anke, again, welcome to our Space Café today. So, let's kick that off. You have been in the office, as we just learned, a bit over a year. Time for a quick review, I would say. What touched you most?
Yeah, thank you very much. And many thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. And it's a huge honor to be with the space community today. I guess it's the first time this year, so thank you very much. I've been in the office for a bit more than a year. So I started in the middle of the Corona crisis, actually, which is quite special, as most people I've met only online. So there are a number of people I've just met as flat pictures. Yeah. And of course, I have been in the fortunate position in summer to travel a bit. So I've seen some people in person. I had the opportunity also to see some of our sites. As DLR, we have quite a number of sites already. So within the last year, I could only see the biggest ones. But of course, next year, I hope to be able then to see almost all our sites and visit all the institutes. But of course, we have done these visits now online, and it has been quite interesting too, because people did films, and we had lots of creative ideas on how people shared what they do. So, and that was also, of course, quite exciting. Yeah. And I'm very impressed, of course, by what people do in our different programs and space, in aeronautics, in energy and also in traffic research and in the cross-cutting topics, that's safety and defense and also in digitalization. Yeah, and of course also transfer to industry. So we have had also a lot of meetings with various companies, also online, and just a very few where we could actually visit the company. And I hope that's also going to increase next year, because it's really a pity if you can't see the actual satellites or you cannot see the actual airplane. So I really look forward to that. Yeah, and of course we had lots of discussions with various groups, also with the PhD students, the head of the institutes, technicians, and the big project, and that was really nice. And of course I loved also the fact that people are engaged not only in their research and transfer, but also as members of DLR. And I was most impressed, in fact, by the vaccination campaign that we had within DLR, and where both our crisis team and our Institute for Aerospace Medicine had a leading role. So that was really fantastic that people devoted that time also to that vaccination campaign.
Yeah, sounds interesting. And I mean, you alluded a bit to your start, but what have been the biggest challenge in the last year? Was it just to not able to travel to meet people, or did you had also other challenges you had to manage? And I think I'm quite sure there were a few of those.
Yeah, we actually decided that we would change the organizational structure of DLR. So we have gone for a functional executive board in order to make more use of the synergies that we have between space, between aeronautics, between space and traffic, or say aeronautics and energy research. I mean, there is a number of really important synergies, and in particular for aeronautics, of course, it's really important to get that climate friendly, to get new fuels, and to do fuel research, but of course also the upscaling, because that's not going to be very helpful if you have planes that can fly with sustainable aviation fuels while you don't have the fuel. So that's of course interlinked. And I mean, same is true, of course, for space research, and the question about the infrastructures on Earth. I mean, it would be a pity if we wouldn't use the knowledge we have, of course, and to optimize the system. So that's what we have done. And then, of course, we have decided that it becomes more and more important to really transfer technologies even quicker into industry and to make use of them in society, in particular with respect to the Green Deal. Yeah, it's really important to be quick, and that means that we have to interact strongly with industry, and we have put a great amount of effort into that, and we have also dedicated, therefore, one of our positions in the executive board to this task to transfer into research infrastructures, and Carsten Lemmer, who has before been the member of the board for energy and traffic, he has taken over that position. So now he also works with the space companies, as well as with, of course, aeronautics companies. And that's, of course, quite helpful. And we also hope to be able to support also more strongly startups, and to get people also to found more startups out of our DLR tech research. Yeah, and then of course we have got new members of the extended board who represent the areas of space, of aeronautics, traffic and energy, and that's Anke Kaysser-Pyzalla. I'm sure most of you know already Dr. Anke Kaysser-Pyzalla. She has been in the space sector for a number of years in different positions. And also Markus Fischer, he has been in industry in several companies, and also Professor Sattler, he has been in the field of future fuels for quite some years. So that has been really important to restructure and to make sure that everything is led by teams. So we have now a decision making where always two people and the issues, which I feel is very helpful and is a very modern way to do things. And we have taken over new fields such as quantum technology, I mean, it comes, in our case, it's in the space program, and I'm sure that's the right place it is. And but we have also been entrusted by the German government to lead an initiative for future quantum computers and quantum computing in Europe, and that's also something that we actually do. So,
Great,
yeah,
impressive.
A lot of challenges, and some of them ongoing.
Very impressive, very impressive. And just as you mentioned, quantum computing, I just read today that quantum might be able to solve one of Euler's 230-something-year-old problem, what he brought out. So that's interesting to see. Maybe DLR will go for the Nobel Prize then. But one step at a time. You mentioned the restructuring. One thing that comes to my mind with that is, how do you interact now with the German Space Agency in the DLR?
Yeah, so for the German Space Agency, of course, Walter Pelzer is as head of the German Space Agency, member of the executive board, as he has been for many years already. And I'm very happy, actually, that he is doing that job, which is extremely complicated and also quite challenges, as he represents the interests of the federal government. Yeah, and that's quite special, and of course needs constant interaction with the government, with the ministries for economy, for defense, and the foreign affairs and whatever. So it's a lot of actually cooperation. It's a lot of course being sure that you know whom you represent and the different situations and what actually you have to do in that case. And he is the head of delegation to the ESA, which is also a very important job. And also the Space Agency acts as a project funding agency. And they support all the universities in Germany and, of course, also the companies in Germany with respect to space. That's also huge tasks, and so we have different roles. However, we have a shared responsibility, both being on the board and me being the chairperson of the board, and we work strongly together. And I enjoy that actually very much. We coordinate our activities. We have been together to see the launch of the Cosmic Kiss mission. Unfortunately, launched a bit later. But nevertheless, we had the possibility to meet quite a lot of people, and we have also been together to the wonderful IAF that was organized in Dubai. So that was also, thanks. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think that's the lower side here. Yes, Cosmic Kiss project.
Yeah.
I think you know that we had the chance to speak in one of our German space cafes with Matthias Maurer and with Reinhold Ewald. That was pretty cool, and that was before his launch, so pretty awesome. So let's dig into your work. We will focus today on, as I mentioned in the title, climate change demands our action. Records from space. I analyzed it in the space R&D part of the wide DLR universe, as you mentioned that before. What would be the space area you would like to point to, and what makes you proud? I'm quite sure all makes you proud, otherwise you wouldn't have taken the job. But in the space sector, is there anything specific? I mean, you mentioned, of course, Matthias' mission. Of course, that's something, but I think we will go another route today in our talk.
Yeah, so in general, we are for DLR as a whole, we see the principle that space actually is something which benefits the people on Earth. And we see that as the main point of our space research. And we have seen within the last year that knowledge and understanding has become really crucial for people in crisis situation, and besides COVID crisis, we have the climate crisis. So it's really important to get unbiased information that's not in any way restricted by any governments anywhere. So information that we all really can trust. And that's really essential. And that's something which satellites, for instance, can really deliver. And that makes space unique. And what makes space also unique is the various areas that space actually covers. So we have the exciting infrastructure such as launches, we have the satellites, which always really bring technology forward. I think that's really something absolutely exciting to see. We have, of course, space infrastructure, space exploration, as you mentioned. I mean, that's something Matthias Mauer explains it extremely well. People in Germany, at least, have become extremely excited. And also, although I guess the information you get from satellites is a lot more precise, and it's anyway a lot more information than you get from ISS. However, the pictures you get, that's what people see and immediately understand. So that makes it also, beside all the exciting science they do, that makes it really extremely valuable. And then, of course, we have excellent projects in basic science and also their technology transfer and all the results we get that are used and stimulate other areas of knowledge in Earth observation and crisis management, which is something also strongly interlinked. We have things like space robotics. We have medicine in space, which we also use on Earth. And that's also part of the Cosmic Kiss mission. We have materials where we also get new information, get new simulation methods, can prove simulation methods on Earth. And of course, we have things like what we every day use and what most people don't really realize. But everybody, I guess, in this community, of course, is navigation and communication. And in fact, the Space Agency has made a great film about that, where they say one day without space. And that film, I think, is really enlightening. So, I hope a lot of people are going to see that one.
That was recently published by you, wasn't that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can get the rights, or then we put the link in our review of this talk here for the audience. So, but
I'll be happy to arrange that. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and
sorry for interrupting.
As you asked, what I might want to point today, and that would be actually so what space can do for our home planet. So. Although, of course, exploration is extremely exciting, but I think at the moment, in this climate crisis, we really have to focus on Earth.
Absolutely. I mean, as you pointed it to the use of satellite today, it's super widespread. Yeah. So from these tiny things that just beeps around to, James Webb, on the other end. So, but what will be the future usage of satellites, small satellites? So, that is one of the areas the DLR and your team your teams work on. So, can you give us some outlook what the future will bring us? And be careful, we have people in the room that are really working deep in this field. Renee, we know that you are listening.
Yeah, I guess being the chairperson, it's my prerogative not to know everything.
That's what I tell my team as well sometimes.
What I really like was when somebody said to me that satellites have become our tools and our eyes in the orbit. I think that's really beautifully said. So it's not my idea, but I think it's a very nice summary what satellites really do.
But I think that comes from the security community, because they used it from the beginning on. So, but just to say that.
Oh, okay, yeah, but I think it also fits nicely to Earth observation as such, and for instance, I mean, if you imagine like looking at the for instance agriculture, yeah, it's also true, yeah, but what you really can see as for instance tree species, you can see whether forests are growing or not. You can see areas where soil is dry and all this kind of thing. So I think that actually also fit for other areas. But it's interesting. I don't know. It comes from that sector. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the ultimate high ground, yeah, as we know. That's how it started. That was a race before. And thanks to Florian David, who put in the link for the 1 day without space. Thank you. We will put it in the show notes then later on. But if I'm correctly informed, there are also projects on payloads that you work on, especially to fight climate change, climate crisis. So for CO2 or imagery. So can you allude a bit on that?
Yeah. So actually, I mean, there is various kinds of emissions and of course various sensors and the extremely interesting thing I think about satellites is also that you really can combine various methods, that you can combine various types of information that you get from satellites, and also that you can combine by, for instance, sentinels and others, also various kinds of resolution that you receive, being at spatial resolution or being at resolution in other dimensions. And by combining that data, I think it's going to be possible, and that's something where we work at, as for instance for CO2, also to identify point sources. And by being able to get a more global view and then to go down to a more focused view, it's going to be possible to identify individual sources of pollution. And I guess, for instance, in case of methane, where we don't yet know what the major what part of the big pollutants are and where they are, that's going to bring quite new information. And all this, of course, then goes into models, into climate models, and of course also it's a possibility really to identify whether various parts of the Earth really keep to what they promise,
That's right.
if things are really different from what they seem. So I think that's also something extremely important. And I think that the new missions coming up, so we really hope for TNML, because TNML will bring everything to really new level. It's going to be extremely expensive, so we all have to do a good deal of lobbying to get it. But once we get TNML, of course, we have unprecedented resolution, and we will be able to get a lot better time resolution also, and see also dynamics of various processes on the Earth, and that's also something which we think is extremely important, in particular for the community interested in climate change and also in the effects of climate change on Earth.
Okay. You brought me to my next topic, and that's data. But before that, I would like to take this question from KP Ludwig in here. And thanks, KP, for sending it in. Would you be interested if cooperation with Russia on the climate relevant or monitoring on the permafrost areas in Siberia is going on? Is that an area you guys are active already or not?
Oh, we are, of course, active also in the observation of ice melting phenomena in various parts of the Earth, and also in the quantification, of course, and also looking into different types of ice and the melting processes. I'm not an expert on ice, so please don't expect me to go more into detail there. But what I've learned is that you have this kind of glacier seas where the impact of the climate even increases the melting phenomena. But I'm sure that can be a lot better explained by Stefan Dess and the guys from our Earth Observation Centre.
Wonderful. So, talking about the data, I mean, how do you merge these obviously massive amount of data generated in space and applications on Earth? So, how do you see the role of artificial intelligence, machine learning in the near future of the DLR? And then, of course, for us as citizens.
Yeah, at DLR we have quite early on and made the effort also to have a data archive. This data archive at the moment has a phenomenal expansion already. It's growing really constantly, and then of course it's expected to grow even stronger within the next year due to the missions coming up and the ever increasing data rates that we get, and of course that's really important because then you get really an idea about the evolution of various phenomena over time, being settlements, being urbanization, and all these kind of things. And of course, urban settlement is also the urban settlement footprint, where also our Earth Observation Centre has been working on as also a very important problem in many areas of the Earth. In particular, if you think about informal settlements. And all this data also means that, of course, in such cases, for instance, urban settlement or so, you combine the satellite data even with other data that's available from other sources. Also in, say, agriculture. So what you will also always merge is the data that you get for instance, also from Meteosat or what you get from actual measurements on Earth. You have to combine this data, and to do that really well, artificial intelligence becomes more and more important. And also artificial intelligence, of course, becomes more and more important in the interpretation of the various images. And we've seen really an explosion in the number of publications in that field, which really shows how much you can do with it. And it has lots of applications, in particular in transport. I think with respect to the identification of roads, of traffic systems, but also with respect to the identification of individual objects, big ships. I mean, I hope I've sent you a Christmas card where we had the ship routes, and also, I mean, it's now possible really to identify objects. Also with respect, I've seen that also by the Earth Observation Centre for really quarters, city quarters, and that's really, really impressive, and it helps a lot. Of course, people doing city planning. So AI really is an incredible technology. Of course, we have to make sure that it's trustworthy. We have to make sure that we know the accuracy and these kind of things. And that's, of course, things people do research on.
Understood. As you mentioned, the future usage of small sats, many, including myself, argue about sustainability in space. So how is your approach on that, also keeping Germany's upcoming small satellite initiative in mind? Are we getting just part of the problem, or can we solve it?
Yeah,
I know it's not a very pleasant question. So.
Yeah, we actually think that small satellites are really important for the community, and in particular for universities can then try new things, and that's the reason why we fund it in the German Space Agency, and we have this program you alluded to. So I think it's really an important program, It's also important for industry to get new things into space and to progress. Also, of course, with respect to the power of the satellites, with respect to various applications. And we have made this scientific pilot competition, which I think it's also quite often important to have a competition because that brings out the best results. However, we think that for these kinds of research which we do with small-scale satellites, and for that where we fund projects, it's not really a problem regarding sustainability because it's quite well possible to deorbit these satellites after usage. And of course, we also work on the observation of debris. Yeah, so we have developed in our institute for technical physics various stations for tracking space debris. And of course, we also work on robotics for removing space debris in our Institute for Robotics. And we have also developed a concept of retroreflectors. And of course, all this needs regulation. Yeah, that's not something that we can do. But of course, we also lobby that some regulation takes place in order not to have the whole space full of debris, and of course, in order not endanger satellites, our crucial infrastructure, and also, of course, people.
One question I would take on that, and without further digging into the space sustainability here, because we are running out of time, and 33 minutes, as we know here in Germany. So Markus Fritz asked, could space data, and there was a longer question before, but could space data become a driver for the European space leadership? Would you agree to this statement?
Yeah, actually, I think we have a lot of competences in that area. ESA also has AI for EO and AI for security. And so we all make joint efforts to make the best of the data that we have. We have incredibly good data. We have a very good satellite network. So yeah, I think we should strive for that.
Great. Cool. Let's come slowly but steady to an end here. Talking about Germany and DLR is primarily in Germany with all your fingers somewhere else. But talking about Germany, we have a new government, we have a new, or thanks God, or aerospace coordinator, and congratulations to Anna Christmann for that new position. Do we have old challenges, new challenges? What is your short take on it? And I'm quite sure we can do a complete program for that, but just in the terms of final statement.
Yeah, so the climate crisis has been a challenge, and it's going to remain a challenge, and it's going to be an increasing challenge, and we have to react on that. And in order to do that, space is something which gives us the necessary data and the necessary insight, and therefore it will be important really to develop further our space programs to get things like tandem running, and also to make to ensure that we have a space law that is internationally acknowledged by everybody, thanks to therefore the space degree, which you alluded to already. And for us as DLR, of course, our challenges remain to do excellent research, to do excellent transfer, and to make sure that what we do is usable for people, and it's usable also, of course, for our industry.
Thanks for this statement. And I mean, I would be happy to see our new space strategy first before we have the law, but maybe two things at once. So we will see. Thank you, Anke, very much for your time, and really keep on doing your wonderful, your great, your inspirational job. It was a pleasure talking to you. But I'm afraid now, even so, we have not our production team with waving the flags usually. I'm afraid we have to come to an end. Or even so, I would like to continue it, and we discovered a number of areas that we can go deeper in, and hopefully within this year we have what do we have, 345 days or so, something like left. So yeah, maybe we see each other again. So Chiara, back to you.
Thank you very much, and big thank you to you as well, Anke. Thank you. Before we finish for today, please do not miss our next upcoming events. So on the 13th of January, we have a panel on Does Outer Space Need Arbitration? Together with the Space Arbitration Association. And hurry up if you still want to join, because our seats are limited. On the 18th of January, we have the Space Café with Peter Holzroy. And on the 25th of January, we will have a Space Café live from the EU Space Conference in Brussels. And on the 27th of January, we have our Space Law Breakfast with Stephen Freeland, Goyu Wang, and Geraldine Go Escolar. All events are going online on Eventbrite as usual. And as always, we love to hear your feedback, so please check in with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to sign up for our daily and our bi-weekly newsletters. And if you want to treat yourself to something special, become a Space Watcher today, or help us in our supporter program. Thank you, Anke, for the inspiring talk and for being our guest. And thanks to the entire team behind the scenes for doing this great job week in and week out.
We have done that. There's no team today. It's just us.
There's always a team involved in the background, even if Torsten and I were on our own for today. But the team is there. But yes, I hope that you all stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you in the next weeks. And in the meantime, visit our website and follow us on social media. And don't forget, become a Space Watcher.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.